Welcome back to my channel, guys. I have yet another story for you. And I feel like I'm talking more and more about this topic because it just keeps happening more in my life that I'm confronted with these themes of DL guys and discreet guys. It's come up in other videos before, although this story is a little bit different in that I had a friend with me to kind of compare notes with. So curious to tell you guys this story. So yesterday, at the time that I'm making this video, I went to get drinks with a friend, and this was happy hour. So it was still daytime. It's not like, we're out at 2 in the morning or something. So it was about 5 p.m. happy hour after work, and we went to this new trendy restaurant in Miami Beach. So I'm having a few drinks with my friend and we're having a good time, whatever. And I see, by the way, there were a lot of sexy people at this restaurant. So I've noted this place in the back of my mind, like, yeah, I like this place. And at one point, I make eye contact with a handsome man, definitely much older than me, but sexy nonetheless. And I had had a few drinks by this point, so I think I was bolder than usual. And I maintained eye contact with him as he was walking out of the restaurant. Now, when he exited the restaurant, there was still an occasion for him to see me coming around because I was right next to this archway with my friend. So if this makes sense, he exited out, so now he's out of my sight, and I was waiting for him to come out to the other side where I could see him through the arch because I was curious, is he going to maintain eye contact? I feel like this doesn't happen that often that I lock eyes with a guy, and it's even rarer. Is that a word? Rarer? It's even more rare that a guy really like locks in and maintains eye contact. Usually it's like a glance and then that's it. But sure enough, as I'm going like this through the arch, just, curious out of curiosity to see what happens, he was locked in and he came over. Very bold. By the way, I like that. I like that tenacity because that never happens. I never get approached that way. Who knows? He probably had a few drinks himself. So he comes around back to my table, and that's when I spot a wedding ring. Not just a wedding ring, I notice that he has a child with him, which somehow I missed. That there was a child with him following him from, walking after him, behind him. So I'm kind of thrown off because I see this ring, I see a child, and I'm like, what is this guy about to say, right? And so he goes, "Hi, uh, don't I know you from somewhere?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think so." And he's like, "No, no, I feel like I know you. My name is," and let me just make up a name, uh, John. "My name is John. What's your name?" And I say, "My name is Kiven." And he asked me to say it again like 3 times, which I'm used to, whatever. But he kept going on with this whole thing of, "No, no, I know you. We've seen each other at the WeWork, right? At the WeWork." And I'm like, I have never been to WeWork in my in my life. And I think subconsciously I was a little bit on guard because I saw the wedding ring that I was like, I don't even like, what is this? What is happening? What are you trying to do, sir? The entire time he's locked in while shaking my hand. So I was just thrown off because the eye contact was intense and it felt like, this guy's into me. But I'm also thinking, you have a ring, you have a kid, and I've definitely never seen you before. So the whole time, my friend, the straight woman, was sitting there watching this. So as soon as this guy leaves, she's like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "You tell me. You were watching. You tell me." Because the funny thing is, whenever these moments happen where you feel like somebody's hitting on you, but there's also a level of ambiguity and you're trying to really quickly compute and figure out what's happening. Ironically, I just talked about this recently in a video about a month ago, I think. I made a video that many of you guys left comments on, for those of you who are subscribed, about this guy I met on a boat. It was just the two of us on this tiny boat as he was sending me over to take a seaplane. And it was a similar situation where I'm like, there's something here, but it's just ambiguous enough that in the moment, it's like my brain couldn't keep up with it. Like I was thrown off by the dynamics. And so how interesting to have a friend with me seeing this as well. because that has never happened to me. I never have a friend with me who can help me analyze the situation. So that was so, I guess, peculiar to have another set of eyes and ears to bounce off of. And she had the exact same conclusion as me. She was like, that guy was into you like a hawk. And yet this bizarre narrative about the we work, and I know you from the we work. And so my friend was like, totally weird that he had a kid with him and that he's flirting with you while he has a kid with him. She didn't see the wedding ring. Probably was the angle where she was sitting, that he was kind of like tucked away half behind the archway. But it was one of those moments where I'm like, Kev, trust your instincts, because she had the exact same conclusion of that was fucking odd that he came so boldly and yet pussyfooted with this WeWork thing. But who knows? He might have been freaked out that I was with a girl, and maybe he thought, oh, this guy's down low just like me. I'm married and he's dating this girl, whatever. But to make up some story about, I know you from the WeWork, wink, wink. Is WeWork Grinder? Is WeWork the new Grinder? I don't know. And to use my friend's word, she called it, he was giving you a code. By the way, how funny that a straight woman somehow understands what gay code looks like more than I do. At the same time, my target audience is obviously not married men with kids, and I'm just like, are these men who operate in a different bubble where they expect you to speak that same coded language, and then that's how they live a completely different double life? Because I'm not into that. Sorry, I'm not into that. And it's such a shame, because he was a polished, elegant looking man. The fact that he was that bold, that he went around, exited the restaurant just to circle back to my table. And I'm like, but you're doing all that while you're married? It's also always interesting to talk about these things with not just straight people, but straight women, because we were sort of comparing notes about how we live in such different realities. And she is a woman who is now in her 40s, and she was telling me that kind of thing used to happen. She used to get approached in person all the time and get, glances walking down the street in her 20s and 30s. And she was telling me how part of her journey as a woman is that she feels like she's becoming more and more invisible in society, and that in her journey it's about like becoming comfortable with that evolution. And meanwhile, I feel like that kind of thing is happening to me more and more, and I think it's because I'm looking more like a man. And therefore these other men feel maybe more confident or bolder to take that chance, often including what I would call devious or deceptive behavior, right? The fact that they're married, they maybe don't see me as innocently as they would have when I was 22 or 25. I don't really know what to make of it, or maybe it's just that I have, am frankly more traditionally attractive. I feel like I finally have a jawline. It took years, but I finally have a jawline. So it was very interesting to talk to my friend about, like, you're becoming invisible in society. And I feel like I always felt invisible growing up as a gay kid, and suddenly I'm becoming more and more visible. I'm becoming the opposite. And yet, because this feels so foreign to me, this kind of experience, or at least it doesn't happen often enough for me to like be able to compute in the moment and keep up with what's happening, I always end up sabotaging it anyway. Not that I would have, again, I as soon as I saw the ring, I was like, really? Like, why is it always these guys who make this much effort? Why can't the single guys make this much effort? For gay men watching this, I'm curious if you relate to that idea of the older you get, more these advances happen more. And is it just because a man sees another man and thinks, like, I can get away with this? What is that about? Let me know in the comments what you think, and catch you next time.